What's up, folks, and welcome back to Dyce Reacts, where we are staying in Australia tonight. Oh yeah, we are going to be checking out Australian Special Forces versus US Special Forces. My experience working with the Aussies. Where my sound checks one out, we ain't going to waste no more time. We're just going to get right into it, folks. We're going to get right into it. Oh yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So today we are going to talk about my experience working with Australian Special Forces, and more specifically their 2 Commando and SAS units, okay, which I worked with pretty extensively. I know, surprisingly, a lot of people from Australia tune into the channel and notice some things like my 2 CDO patch and Australian flags all over my plaques. Okay, in first group, we do a lot of partner training with Australia. Some big events every year, one called Talisman Saber and some things like that. And I just want to talk to you guys about how, or what I think about their Special Forces units. Now, if you've watched my previous video on where I rank the best and worst foreign special operations units, you'll already know that I ranked Australians at the very top of who I like to work with the most. Okay, so let's get that out of the way up front. Obviously, I'm very partial to the Aussies and working with them for a bunch of different reasons. Skill, enjoyment, just culture, overall, that type of stuff. So what I want to do first is sort of talk about the partnership, or us being allied with Australia, and why it's so important strategically. Okay, a lot of people might not realize this. Australia is definitely our #1 strategic ally by far. Why? Well, location, proximity to China, obviously shared culture, shared values, all sorts of different things. People think Britain or France or Europe. Not only that, but Australia was the country that didn't abandon us in Iraq and the global war on terror. Whether you approve of that war or not, Australia left in 2021 just like we did. They were there for the long haul with us, and because of that, just like our special operators are so good in combat because of all the combat experience, Australian operators actually have a lot of combat experience as well, unlike most of the other foreign units. Okay, so again, who do I primarily work with? Australian 2 Commando for the most part, and some SAS stuff. So what I want to do is roll. My ODA actually had a big marketing video done that Special Operations Command used from our trip in Australia. So I'm gonna roll the clip of that, and you can see this is my ODA. I'm in some of these clips and our Australian partners. So let's check it out.
Special Operations is the overarching umbrella. You've got Navy SEALs, you got the SOCOM umbrella, AFSOC, MARSOC, all these different units. But truly, there is only one Special Forces. That's the U.S. Army Grand Berets. I've had a very, very fortunate and privileged career. And every time the ramp goes down, every time I get on the helicopter, being able to jump out of the aircraft,
I don't know if I've seen this footage, but it looks eerily familiar. Like I've seen that footage in maybe some other video or like mini documentary. I'm not sure. Oh, but I've heard of the SAS for sure.
this is not a job to me, it's a dream. Never worked.
All right, so you can see we did a lot of air type stuff, okay? Fast roping, halo, military free fall, that type of stuff. That was a big part of it, of the exercise. And I'll walk you through what Talisman Saber can kind of look like and how those training exercises together actually look. But let's talk about what the Aussies are the best at, or really, really good at, and from working together with them. #1, by far, and I think they take the most pride in it, and they were extremely skilled at it when we worked together, better than us, is fast roping. Okay, so fast roping is when you're taking troops, sending them out of a helicopter down a rope, okay? It's actually the most dangerous thing we do in the military, okay? There's a lot of things that can go wrong, a lot of ways to get hurt, a lot of ways you can die, but these guys are very, very good at it. You know, they even fast rope dogs out with them and all kinds of stuff. So highly impressed when we were doing fast rope training together. All right, next one they were very good at was military free fall operations. Okay, so my ODA that was there was a Halo military free fall ODA, and so we did a lot of partnered jumps in together, and they are equally as talented as an American Special Forces Halo ODA for sure. All right, and then number 3, tactics and combat prowess. So we did some pretty large scale training hits on targets, raids, things like that. And they were very tactically proficient as well. So I said those were the 2 things that stood out to me the most, I was most impressed with. And a lot of times when we work with foreign units, you know, American Special Forces, our skill and talent level is a mile higher than the people we work with. That's not the case with the Aussies. Okay, they are very skilled, very talented, and very good at their job, just like United States Special Forces units are. Okay, so what are some of the types of things we did? All right, well, so we did 2 big raids, okay, or hits. The first one we did for the training exercise was to tape down a shipping port. We were in the Northern Territories, and it was a huge shipping port. We used our ODA, plus I think 2 or 3 more ODAs, and their entire 2 commando unit to make the hit, which actually very interesting, because in the next one we did, we actually took down an international airport. We don't get to, in America, we don't get to train like that. Like, we don't get to just fly Chinook helicopters into a city, land them in the middle of a street, and run out and do these big crazy training exercises in the middle of like downtown Seattle, which the Aussies are able to do because the military actually has domestic authority, so they're actually allowed to train and do stuff like that in civilian areas, which I think it was really cool, and let us do some things we're not used to be able to do.
And I would think that the U.S. military would have something to that degree where they could pull off those type of training. I would think if someone had those kind of extensive exercise training for soldiers, it would be in the U.S. Or maybe I can't really understand what he's really trying to say. Like in terms of like what fashion of exercises he's talking about.
Allowed to train and do stuff like that in civilian areas, which I think it was really cool, and let us do some things we're not used to be able to do. The next big one, which is kind of the final colex, we took down an international airport, a real international airport. Obviously it was set up for you know, our training mission, but they had like 200 role players there, and again, we used both units to take this down. As we came in, chaos, people screaming, running everywhere, mock terrorists within the airport and all types of stuff like that. It was very, very cool mission to do, and again, not something we would be able to do in the United States. We'd be able to shut down an entire international airport to be able to do a training exercise. So very, very cool opportunities that we got to train with those guys there. Now, again, why is our relationship so important right now? And that is because of our common adversary and enemy that we both know is the biggest problem in the world, and that is China. Okay, Australia unfortunately has tied a ton of their economy to China and is trying to figure out how to backstep out of that, much like the United States is. Okay, so we have a very strategic or very important strategic partnership in.
Yeah, so this has to be a recent video since he's mentioning China. Yeah, so this is a recent video, I would assume.
Strategic or very important strategic partnership in dealing with the South China Sea and everything that's going on there. Okay, so that's why I think Australia is America's -- most important strategic partner by far right now. Also, just to tie it up and finish the video out, this one will be a little bit shorter than usual, but I just want to talk about part of the reason why I ranked Australia so high in my video best foreign special forces units is how much I liked working with the Aussies. Okay, that doesn't even come close from any other foreign unit I worked with. The Aussies were by far the most fun to work with, the funniest dudes. Those guys, their culture out of control a little bit. You know, we might have done a little bit of bar hopping and drinking with the Aussie boys, and I can say, you know, as crazy as I thought U.S. Special Forces operators can be, those guys were 10 times as crazy. I would say borderline out of control, but maybe not out of control by Australian standpoint. I'm not sure. But even during the training exercises, all the dudes are super nice, super funny, great stories, and by far, you know, my favorite unit to work with. And when I would do Talisman's Favor is probably my favorite training exercise that I would ever do. So,
yes, this one was interesting, because I would think that the American military would go to lengths to do all sorts of training there is without being any limitation in terms of getting the soldiers in different type of scenarios. So when he said that they're not allowed, he talked about like something with domestic, with the civil, they cannot take over a civilian territory in America to do a training. So like, what type of training do you call what he's referring to in terms of the examples that you gave? Australian military, they have done a wonderful job working with the Americans. I've seen so many, well, not a lot, I've seen quite a few videos talking about it, and they are certainly one of the best allies that they have for strategically. And they said, and the other videos have mentioned, that when it comes to strategy wise, Australian military is up and up, top tier when it comes to that aspect. So he ain't lying about that. I need some answers when it comes to the limitations of the US military in terms of training exercise. I would like to know that. He's certified for what he's saying there. He gave his, you know, things that he's been into. So definitely, I don't want to go against what he's saying there. But you guys could help me out there with that aspect in a little more detail. If you want to see that long-term archery I do, hit me up on Dyce Reacts, where I do music reactions. This is where I'm going to be making my exit. So until next time, peace out.